p.m. Time to convene the Roy City Council meeting for this evening. Council members that are present are Councilmember Beecraft, Councilmember Dandoy, Councilmember Hilton, and Councilmember Yeoman. And Marge, would you introduce our youth council member that's here this evening?
Our youth council member is Chase Felt, and we also have 4 others. I'll go ahead and introduce them now, and they will be coming each week. Braden Coleman, Porter Farley, Chase, Jordan Purifoy, and Katie Smith, and so they'll be helping us throughout the year. So.
We certainly want to welcome youth council join us here at the council meetings. Thank you very much. Councilman Tafoya is out of town tonight, however, he is telephonically connected to the meeting and is with us, is he not?
Yep.
Okay. A moment of silence this evening by Councilmember Beecraft. Please, Marge.
If you would bow your heads for a moment of silence, please. Thank you.
Councilmember Beecraft will also lead us at this time in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Okay, I have asked Troop 72, Scoutmaster is Dan Tanner, and Aaron Casper will officiate in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Color guard attention. Color guard forward march. Please make the proper hand salute. Color guard post the colors. Please repeat the Pledge of Allegiance with me.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
2. Color guard retreat. Color guard dismissed. The audience may be seated.
We want to thank Troop 72. That was very outstanding. Thank you.
Next item on the agenda this evening, folks, is public comments. This is a time that any person wants to address the council, please come forward to the podium, state your name and address, and go ahead and address the council. Do we have anyone in the audience this evening who would like to address the city council? Yes, ma'am.
Good evening, Jacqueline Thompson, 5084 South, 3550 West in unincorporated Weber County. As most of you are aware, the County Commission passed the resolution this afternoon recommending the annexation of the remaining islands of unincorporated county properties into the city of Roy. Since the county worked with Senator Buxton to have the state laws regarding the annexation process changed early this year, we find ourselves at the mercy of the city. We no longer have the power to prevent the annexation. While the large majority of residents impacted by the decision would still prefer for everything to stay as is, we are committed to making the best of this unfortunate situation brought on by changes that were made without the knowledge with most of those impacted by the bill. From a business and financial perspective, we understand the reasoning behind the county's decision, and we appreciate their commitment to ensuring that in due course of their recommendation, they and the city were willing to work together to ensure the concerns that impacted us most with regards to the property rights and the future use will be protected. That being said, I'd like to thank Steve for his responses combined with the details that Charlie Ewert at the county for providing clarity to a majority of the questions that we had sent in. As much as the council have said we would be welcome additions to the city, we would like to become good citizens as well and look forward to a transparent process as the city makes the necessary changes to the zoning to offer us those future use protections. We appreciate the interactions of the so-called debacle last year behind us. We want to work together with each of you to ensure there are no rumors being spread, no misinformation being shared. Everyone has their opinions on previous annexation attempts dating back the last 30 or so years. I'd ask that not only of the council and the city leadership, but of my neighbors and friends, that we move forward with civility as we engage in further discussions on this topic. People can disagree with decorum, but ultimately we are good neighbors in Weber County now, and should the city of Roy accept the county's proposal, we all need to be the same good neighbors as we become part of the city of Roy. There is emotion that comes with everything we do in life. I'm hoping to keep the engagements honest and open, but low-key, not accusatory on all parties. The only way we can move forward is in the best interest of both the city and the residents. Ask the first that the city start by holding an open meeting as we discussed, town hall type discussion with the impacted residents to share the commitments that you have made to the county with regards to the zoning details. What the residents can expect in the short term as the city follows those steps in preparation for the next annexation proposal. We appreciate the city's response to Commissioner Zebert's request, and we look forward to learning more about the changes the city is willing to make. If you would prefer to communicate by email or by phone on a date and time that we can hold that meeting, that's fine. At any point in the next couple of months as we get through this process, the residents have shared that a Monday or Tuesday meeting would be easiest for them to all attend. And we would expect a very large majority of the residents to attend this first meeting to understand what's coming.
Okay, Mayor and Council, I too wanted to thank Steve for responding to Jacqueline's email. I've been CC'd on it. Jacqueline's been very good. I think we have a good, clear understanding of what the needs are, and I don't think it's going to be accusatory. I think we're going to have a good relationship. We do have a good idea what we need to do or what we need to bring to the table. So Steve, thanks a lot. Jacqueline, thanks for working with us. We will set up a meeting and try to get some of the other issues resolved.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mayor, can I?
Council?
Yeah, I'd like to see that. We did in the last meeting we had here when the county commissioner was here. We made a point that we really wanted to make sure they become an advocate to the county's needs if they in fact choose to pass that. It sounds like, and I was not aware until you told me, they made that decision today. But I think part of that agreement is that they would facilitate the issues and concerns according to their county members, and that they would be for a better word, a conduit to Roy City in terms of what their interests and needs are. So it sounds like there has been some correspondence. Obviously, we need to get real educated in terms of what their issues and their concerns are beyond what we already know, because we know a lot. So if there's anything that's in paper, I think, Mayor, it would be in our best interest as a council to read that. So when we come to this next meeting, we fully understand the needs and the interest of the county members as we now discuss in terms of the road ahead. That reasonable?
Yeah, that's very reasonable. And I think
Okay.
also too, Ogden City is going to it January 1st of 2019. So we've got some time to, and probably recommend we just follow the same schedule. So we've got some time to get it right. And
So you're indicating with that comment, the council of Ogden can approve it, but make the implementation sometime in 2019?
Correct,
Okay.
correct. And Kathy Spencer also sent out an email, and it makes perfect sense about if we do it the first start of the year, it helps with property taxes and everything else. So
Right.
it's not convoluted, some going to Weber County and some to Roy. So just do a clear start date of January 1st, 2019.
So my comment then would be is if you got that kind of dialogue that has taken place in terms of what their interests and concerns are, let us start to look at that, understand it thoroughly, come up with some solid recommendations, and I think that'll allow the council to be more informed on how best to vote this. I can't speak for all the council, but I was here many times, and the council basically said to the county residents, we did not want to drag you into the city. So if we can find a mutual agreed upon approach that works for all parties, we welcome you. I'd just as soon have the welcome mat open rather than basically rope you and tie you up and drag you in. So let's find the right solution that works, okay? Perfect, thank you.
Well, this has been an ongoing issue for a lot of years, and, you know,
Yeah, yours
Okay.
doesn't seem to be on.
it's been an ongoing issue for many years, and we do not want to drag residents into our community kicking and screaming and unhappy with being residents of Roy. I moved to Roy in 1970, and Roy City is a great community. We have a lot of fine programs in the city. Our police department and fire department are very responsive to the needs of the citizens of our community. And as citizens coming in, you'll certainly have access to the finest services, as far as I'm concerned, in Weber County. So we'll sit down. We're not gonna take this thing helter-skelter and just pick up the ball and run with it. We want to meet with you folks. We talked about a town hall meeting. The city manager will get that scheduled, and we will sit down and hear your needs and meet you as well as can be done, okay? Okay. Council, any others?
No.
Okay. Anyone else want to make comments in the public interest to the council? Seeing none, we will move on to the next. This is a consent item on the agenda. Approval of the September 5th, 2017 City Council minutes. Do we have a motion to approve those minutes?
Mayor, I motion to approve the September 5th, 2017 City Council minutes.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
That's a loud clear.
Next item on the agenda this evening, folks, is a public hearing to receive and consider comment regarding amendments to the fiscal year 2018 budget. Is this your show, Kathy?
Mayor, I'd like to make a motion, we go into public hearing.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to go into public hearing. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we're now in the public hearing, and Kathy, it's your turn.
Okay, in your packets, we've sent out a list of budget adjustments that we are proposing for tonight. The impact of the budget adjustments is to increase the sales tax by $38,000 for the revenue side, and then the offset, we're asking for $20,000 in tuition assistance, that program be reinstated. It has not been in effect for a number of years. To provide $20,000 to improve the exercise room downstairs in this building, to get some new equipment and to just clean the place up a little bit. It's a pretty big mess down there. Provide $13,500 for utilities at the aquatic center. For some reason, when the company turned over to Dominion Energy, they stopped billing us for some reason. We tried to get that resolved before the end of the fiscal year, and we're unable to. So the aquatic center gave some money back last year, and then they're asking for it now because we finally got billed and need to pay for $13,500. So we've got that in there. We had some changes to public safety in the police and fire department that we brought to you a couple of weeks ago, probably a month ago, and we're reversing those out and not going to do those changes. But we have also put back in a change in the wage scale for the sworn police officers and the firefighters to move them from an 18-step scale to a 12-step scale. The impact for that this year is $34,683.
and then that will exponentially be increased from here on out as, you know, those raises get put on there. It will actually move them from a 2.25%, well, we're actually 2.5% on the old scale to a 3.75% merit every year on that scale. And those are the only adjustments that we're proposing for right now. And if you agree with those changes, we have resolution number 1742 for you to consider.
Kathy, on the item number 2 with the exercise room, are we not also going to sell some equipment?
Yes, we're going to
From
try
there.
to do that, and we've got possibly looking at the vendor that actually will be selling us the new equipment to see if they might be able to sell the
Take that
old
back.
stuff and get us maybe a little bit higher rate off of those things. If not, we'll put it on the public surplus website and do that. So
Yeah, if the council hasn't been down into that room, it sorely needs to have a facelift down there with new carpet
definitely.
and stuff. I mean, and some stick-ups. Some things like that.
Needs a lot of help.
And, you know, some of these items, you know, as I've had some time off to kind of dive into some of these things, I started looking at some of the goals that we set in our retreat, and that's where some of these have come from. Is we Jason and I sat down and we started looking at some of the ways we can improve some for the employees of the city, and I think this really helps set some of that up with the tuition reimbursement and the step change for the public safety, and I think it's just makes sense. And as you look at other cities, that's kind of the way they're doing it, and it just makes sense. And we talked about this last year, you know, that we might have to make adjustments going into this year. This is one of those adjustments. So
Okay. We're in public comment, but you okay, Mayor, if I make a comment on it?
Yes.
Travis, just help us. I think this comments and ideas are great. I think it's the right approach. But I'm also concerned that we also make sure we take care of the residents. And since your complex has similar types of equipment, have we got that facility where it needs to be now, so that the residents can take advantage of that kind of a type of equipment, as well as the stuff we're putting downstairs, which seems to be more targeted to employees?
There's no doubt that the weight room / aerobic area of the complex is as good as it's ever been.
Okay.
We have all the equipment that they have downstairs and then some.
Right.
You know, I mean, there's certain things we have at the complex that aren't downstairs. So, and we'll look at it. If any of the equipment that is surplus here could help us there, either with parts or just as better, we'll make the adjustment there as we go.
All the feedback I'm getting, Travis, and that's the reason why I want to make sure you make it clear in the public record, is people really like what you have done with that exercise room over in the complex. It's really coming together. I think the aesthetic look is improved significantly. But I want to make sure, at least for the public record, that the perception is that the council is not singling out necessarily just the city employees, but we're really making available to the general public now the same kinds of amenities, okay, that they can take advantage of and use as well. So you're telling me and you're telling the public that's exactly what's happened. Is that correct?
Absolutely. Last
Perfect.
budget year, we bought some equipment, we bought a weight room floor, we bought additional weights for that room as well. Yes, I can tell the public and you guys all that.
Perfect. Okay, thank you, Travis.
Councilman Dandoy, that all the workout equipment that we have in the basement here is was purchased by an AFG grant, and Deputy Chief Como did check with the AFG grant, and we can and are able to sell it. So kind of what Travis said, if we're going to be able to do that, then we can look at both the complex and our workout facility. And we have a lot of exercise equipment that maybe is not used as much here, that we can offset over at the complex to, you know, balance both of them out to make it work.
Okay, thank you.
Any other council members?
Mayor, I got something.
speak.
Yeah, I just want to say great job from Jason, Kathy, and Matt for getting all this done and putting it together. Whenever we always strive to take care of those that take care of us, we are just a better organization for that. And I'm proud that we are doing these things, doing this direction. Our police and fire are heads above everybody else, in my opinion, and we should always take care of them along with our rest of our employees. I just want to say great job to staff.
Thanks, Dave,
Thank
for the
you.
comment. Okay. Any other discussion, council?
Any
If
public?
not, I would entertain a motion to go out of the public hearing.
Do they have any? Okay. I motion to go out of public hearing.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We're now out of the public hearing, and I would entertain a motion for consideration of resolution number 1742, approving amendments to the fiscal year 2018 budget.
Mr. Mayor, I motion that we approve resolution number 17-42, approving amendments to the fiscal year 2018 budget.
I second that motion.
We have a motion and a second. It's a roll call vote, please.
Aye.
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 Thank you. Next item, consideration of resolution number 1741, approving a fee schedule for renting rooms at the municipal building and Hope Community Center. Kathy, again.
Okay, in your package, you've got a schedule of the rentals here at this building and over at the Hope Center. We looked at this last year and set the fee schedule. What we're doing is bringing that back in. The only thing we've changed is to take off the fees for the employees here at the city. They will no longer have a fee set on them using any one of the rooms in these buildings, this building or the Hope Center. The one thing I want to maybe change on your schedule is on the Schedule A for the municipal building. We stated that we no longer wanted to rent the multi-purpose room and the kitchen downstairs beginning January 1st because we're going to remodel that. We'd like to expand that and say also the A and B room, so we will no longer rent out this municipal building at all on January 1st of 2018. The reason is we'd like to do some remodeling to the A and B rooms also and change some office spaces and move some things around. So we want to do a better job of utilizing our basement for our staff and for the operations that we have here at the city. And so that if we'll just change that Schedule A to read at the bottom, no longer renting any part of the municipal building basement on January 1st.
Sounds like this falls in with some of the things that Brad's been looking at as far as employees and helping out staff and looking at some other things.
What about the lapidary area down there that they're currently using?
Jason's talked to Kathy, and I'll let him talk about that.
Yeah, so I met with Kathy yesterday. We walked over there to look at if we can get that room back. She says there's only about 4 people a week that use it, and that possibly they can move that over to the Golden Hour Center in Ogden on 25th. So if we do that, then we're going to shift our Public Works from where they're currently at over there, and then reutilize that and make that a conference room. And we got a few changes, but she seemed pretty good about it. She was going to let me know in 2 weeks. So.
All right. Council, any further discussion?
Just for discussion, sometime around March of next year, we anticipate that the library that Roy City owns, the old building, will in fact come under the stewardship of the city. The books that are currently being stored there will be located in the Central Library in Ogden. The other one will go to North Ogden. There needs to be a real serious conversation in terms of what to do with that facility. And I'm hearing and I'm seeing, because I also talked to Kathy today, what's happening in the Hope Center, that the expansion issues, the things that are taking place with administration functions, are kind of pushing into the Hope Center now. So I guess the question would be is, can you see a long-range strategy that maybe the city can bring that to us on what to do with that facility? Do we use it? Maybe move one of the departments over there? Do we basically sell it? But we need an idea because in a few months, Mayor, we're going to have that vacant and we need to do something with it if we're going to use it. So there ought to be a conversation. And by doing so, will this meet maybe some of the expansion demands that you're witnessing right now that's tightening, unfortunately, the belt of this facility? So it might be an opportunity to consider that option.
Yeah, good idea, and I think maybe we could have a work session to kind of go over some of those ideas. Some of those ideas were maybe put the courts over there and then utilize the basement. If we do that, then maybe we can have some of that room be for the seniors to where we can maybe utilize some more of the basement and then have it in one area. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a discussion we need to have. We need to have a workshop. You know, we knew eventually that building would be coming to the city, as is the property connected to that building. And so I think we need to discuss that in a workshop and see where we want to go with long-term planning for that facility. Okay?
I know we always talked about selling it, having it be the option to sell it. But I mean, Bob brings up a good point that having other options might be a good idea to kind of bring forth of maybe other ways to utilize it. I know possibly Boys and Girls Club have talked about being interested. So, yeah. I mean, there's some other options that we could look at.
Okay.
Any further discussion? If not, I would entertain a motion for consideration of resolution number 1741.
Mayor, to make motion that we go ahead and we approve resolution number 17-41, approving the fee schedule for renting rooms at the multipurpose, at the municipal building and the Hope Community Center. As Kathy also mentioned, with the change of also not renting the A and B room after January 1st, 2018.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. This is a roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Yeoman,
Aye.
Councilmember Tafoya,
Dave?
Hello.
Are you there, Dave?
We must have lost him.
Councilmember Beecraft,
Aye.
Councilmember Hilton,
Aye.
Councilmember Danwood.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Okay, next item, folks, is reports and discussion. Discussion on the Patterson property, which is located on the southeast corner of 6,000 South and 4,300 West.
Mayor Cragen. So if you guys remember, a couple weeks ago, we talked about this Patterson property on 6,043, where it was basically the council's wish and the mayor's wish to have him de-annex out of Hooper and annexed into Roy. This is where they want to tie into the stormwater drains. So he's here today. He kind of wanted to have his say. He was unable to be here last week or 2 weeks ago, so we'll give the time, turn it over to him. But just to kind of give you history, this is on the same discussion as that.
Okay. Come on up.
Thank you. Colby Bond at 1514 West, 925 South in Syracuse. I appreciate the council being willing to have a discussion. We had a communication error and we didn't have a chance to be here. So I appreciate the mayor being willing to take my calls and Steve as well on this. I think the challenge that we have, obviously, as the council knows, it's a challenging piece of property out there in Hooper. We're right on the county line there with Davis County, and frankly, Hooper City doesn't really have the ability to service the property. You know, we've gone down the road. We've worked with John over at Wasatch to go through the engineering to find out if the storm drain has capacity. I think that the council was maybe having an issue with servicing the culinary water and the storm drain. And you know, one thing I wanted to discuss, and after going through all of the numbers and everything that deals with the storm water, there's already a significant amount of storm water coming down from the east outfall into the property. Currently, right now, I think it's about 25 CFS coming in down there. Our project will add about 13 CFS, but currently, right now, Roy City with, the surface water and everything on 6,000 is about 65% of the impact. And what we're trying to propose is that we're going to pipe that storm drain and tie it into the existing system for the city. We're hoping that it's a benefit to Roy City to actually have that piped there in 6,000, where you guys have owned and maintained that road for all these years. And you know, ultimately the project to the west that's going in out in Hooper, they will no longer have, you know, this big runoff and flooding down on their property. So I think the infrastructure that we're trying to propose and to build out there is a benefit to Roy City as well as Hooper. And you know, we just didn't have a chance to discuss that with you guys before. And so I appreciate you being willing to put us back on the agenda to talk about it. It's just an odd piece of property that Hooper has a challenge with, and it's also you know, it'll ultimately be a very, very nice community out there that you know, Roy will essentially be connected to.
Kobe, can I ask you a couple questions?
Yes.
The last time we had a conversation, it seemed the most compatible approach was to simply see if we can get Hooper would consider de-annexing that property and allow Roy City then to take it in, and then we just connect all the services that Roy has to provide at that location to you. Can I sense from this conversation, although I'm not sure, Hooper said no?
Well, you know, it's not so much, I would say Hooper would, of course, they would like to keep it within Hooper City. I think the issue that we have is across the street, there are several slivers.
Yes.
If you've looked at the general plan, there are several slivers of Hooper City. And to annex this piece of property, you know, de-annex out of Hooper and annex into Roy, we would be creating several islands across the way there. And I've talked to some of the residents there, and you know, they've immediately said, oh, we want to stay in Hooper City and we'll fight you and we'll sue you. And I, you know, chased out of there with pitchforks and torches. And so, you know, we've gone down the road with Hooper City. We have a preliminary approval. Obviously it was contingent on, you know, working out this storm drain and the culinary water. But we're in North Davis Sewer District, so, you know, we're not using the city's sewer system. You know, we've already annexed into Roy Water Conservancy over there. And so, you know, we're really, you know, like 6 feet from gold, so to speak, in getting this done. It's just a matter of, you know, I think the Hooper City and Roy City have worked well together over the years. I don't know that you've had a choice. I think Mayor Cragen has talked with Mayor Green about this specific piece of property. I'm not sure in what detail, but Mayor Green mentioned it in our last meeting out there in Hooper City. And so, you know, what we're trying to do is just figure out how we make this work with the two cities and ultimately keeping the residents happy over there, which is, you know, to me, the number one challenge and concern is, you know, not really upsetting people's their peace, so to speak.
Okay. That was politically good. Hey, let me just you're talking about the piece that's on the west side, that rather large vacant area, correct?
Yeah, 17 acres.
Yes.
Just there on the south
side.
Yeah, on the south side. Yes, I know exactly.
4,300.
The family that owns the property to the east of there was also in here asking the same question, saying can we get annexed into Roy? Because they have a vision, they'd like to do something in there.
And I'm working with them.
And you're also working that piece of it. So we now have both properties that you're working through. Is that correct?
Correct.
And when the question come up, help me, Steve, because I asked this very question. Because I also, Mayor, was concerned about the islands, and there is law that basically says you can't create city islands within a city. And the answer I got back is in fact, because Roy owned that street, this is 6,000, they're already islands.
They're already islands.
That's what's told to me.
Yeah.
And so in essence it ain't gonna change anything in terms of whether or not that property gets annexed into Roy or stays in Hooper. The fact of the matter is, all those properties on the north side of 6,000 in that general location, and there are 6 of them, they're already islands. And that was happened when in fact they decided to keep that into Hooper. And so unless something's changed, this isn't gonna change any of that. It just basically says that, and Hooper may not even have an argument that simply says, well, you can't create islands, because the way it was explained to me, Mayor, they're already islands because Roy City owns 6,000.
Yeah.
So I don't know the legal terms of whether that's an issue or not, but again, I think Colby, we kind of had this idea that we welcomed you into the city. We'd find out what it's going to take. Is the issue that Hooper does not want to de-annex and allow us to annex you in? Or what's the issue? Because I think it'd be much more favorable to your efforts and to your organization and any investment you make and the property owners to the east of you, if in fact we could agree to an annexation and bring you in as you all want to do.
Well, I think it's really just timing. I mean, we've been working on this project with Hooper City for about 3 years.
Okay.
And I'm no longer the owner of that property. Woodside Homes owns it, and I'm working with them to finish the development as part of our agreement. You know, I think part of the struggle with it is that we're so far down the road, and we've spent, you know, a lot of capital to get to the point where we're at. You know, believing that we were going to be able to figure this out, and Hooper City, if I were to say they want to keep it, I would say yes. I don't think they're extremely excited about, you know, letting that go.
But they can't provide any of their services.
And that's a fun issue.
I know. So they say, I'm not going to get in their minds, but I'm having a hard time understanding, to be honest with you, Colby, is they can't provide the service that you need to develop it. And we liked your ideas. You got some great ideas of what to do with the property. I think they fit well within the city's scope and plan. I'm just a little concerned is that they can't provide the service, but they're not willing to allow it to come back into Roy.
Well,
I don't understand.
You know, that's a good question, and I think that there's already an interlocal agreement between Roy and Hooper for several other parcels.
Yeah.
I'm not exactly, you know, sure what that, you know, spells out. It's not sitting in front of me, but I think that, you know, we're hoping that we can just piggyback on the existing interlocal agreement between the two cities. I don't think we're asking to rewrite. I think we're asking to amend and allow us to, you know, put this interlocal agreement together.
Well, the interlocal agreements you're referring to, I assume, would be as police department may have some agreements that simply says we'll provide service. Fire department has an agreement that simply says if they need us, we'll be there. We have those interlocal agreements. What makes it interesting for Roy City, and I'll give you a good example. A long time ago, the Roy City Council, because of constraints they had with some similar issues with the sewer, approved, this is back in 1990s, approved a storm link into Sunset. There's a storm drain that runs into Sunset with some apartments down there that literally runs all the way into Roy, where they have to dump on 6,000. And we went through quite a discussion. First thing is, the first 5 to 7 years, Sunset the residents never paid a dime to Roy City in terms of that sewer, not a dime. Lost in the mix, not sure what happened. We found out about it, realized what was happening, and they actually came to us and said, we need to tap in another 60 apartments into that storm drain. Now, these apartments that are in Sunset, we already had a storm drain in there. Somebody already agreed to it. And we had to go through the analysis to find out if there's going to be any impact, what potential impact it'd have for future development in Roy. Luckily, we came through that, and it worked out that the council said there was no risk, and we solved that problem. But that's because it was already approved. We're going to go back into the same issue again. Now we're saying here we go again. I can't change the border on Sunset, can't even change the border on Hooper. But here's an opportunity I have to ask the question. It was more cost effective, to be honest with you, to bring that sewer line out of Sunset into Roy than it was to go onto the train tracks and get it to the next location in Sunset. Roy accommodated, okay? It's kind of what we do, I guess. But the point
Roy's
I want
a
to
great
say,
city to work with.
well, yeah, but
I've
by
got
the same
another
token
project
is,
in Roy, and it's been awesome.
I'd like to have some rational reason why Hooper doesn't simply say it's in the best interest of the property owners, the people who own the property, because they can't provide any of the services. Why Hooper wouldn't come up there and simply says, okay, in the best interest of you, your owners, and whoever you represent, let's de-annex and put in Roy. Let Roy assume the responsibility, because if we go through this, and it could happen, who knows where this is going to go, then what we'll find we do with everybody we find in this situation is we double everything. We double the water, we double the sewer, we double the solid waste requirements. We double everything. And so we have these outposts out there, people, organizations, communities, that we treat them completely different in terms of everybody else, but they still exist within the Roy, in a sense, that envelope of Roy. I would really like to have, if it's possible, and Mayor, maybe this is a conversation you have with the mayor and Hooper, it's just a rational reason why they find it more convenient for Hooper to not allow the annexation and because they can't provide the service, than it is to simply say hook up to Roy and then pay the extra money, or whoever's living there has to pay all the extra money. It doesn't make any sense to me. If they could provide the services, that's a different conversation. But they can't provide any of that, not at least at a reasonable cost. And if that's the case, then I don't understand this. I'm just struggling with understanding it. And you're caught in the middle of this conversation, I understand. So,
Well, I think it's been a discussion between the two cities for.
Yeah, that was my
so long.
question going forward, is your conversation with the mayor of Hooper and where you're at, because the conversations that we've had in the meetings is that we were not going to move forward until, because we were providing the services, we wanted that property to be annexed in.
Right.
So that's where I thought our conversation was at, and so it sounds like that now it's, Mayor, you need to have, what's your conversations with the mayor of Hooper?
I've had some conversations there. My feeling, and I've expressed this to Hooper, and that this will allow Roy City to shore up our borders down in that area. You know, it's difficult for this council to go forward and tell the citizens of the community that, yeah, we will provide services that we're not receiving any fees to provide those services, Colby. And I've had some discussion with those folks down there, and it has come basically to, let's square up the borders down on that property line, down in that area, and move forward. They can move forward and know that they're going to deal with Roy City and not Hooper and the county anymore.
So is that your conversation? Is that how it kind of ended with Hooper? Is that where we were at, or
yeah,
is it, do you still have to have a conversation with them?
Well, I want to talk to Mayor Green this week. I want to wait till we get done the meeting here and go back and talk to him and his council. And I think it makes sense to shore the borders up for Roy City on that western area. If we're going to provide the services, then, and the people that are going to live in the area and they're going to be buying from you folks down in that area, need to know that you're building in Roy City and going to have the services of Roy City provided for you, rather than
Okay. I mean,
Okay.
I certainly understand and appreciate where the city is on this.
And I was going to say, your first comment, Colby, when you were talking about the storm drain, you know, and increasing it and tying it in and improving all that, and, you know, it's a benefit to Roy, which it is, you know, having that storm drain, you know, improved and everything, you know, to help that subdivision. However, I do think that us as a council kind of felt that we needed to really look at that annexation process, you know, moving forward, and to have it, you know, come in, you know, to the city if we're going to provide those
Let me give you a little brief
services.
history of that area. Back about 16 years ago, we had a 100-year storm, and everybody up on this side was okay. But you know how everything flows downhill.
Mm-hmm.
And at that
exactly.
point, the city put out a ton of money to help those citizens out because that storm drain couldn't handle it. And the way I'm looking at this is, maybe not you, but Hooper and maybe Woodside is looking to Roy to take all the risk on this. If we have another 100-year storm, we got to put out another $2,000 to $3,000 per household that gets flooded down in that area, and there's going to be more houses now to have to take care of. So my opinion is, the council was pretty unanimous that annex in and we'll take care of the problem.
Okay, so I guess the next question is, obviously it's not part of your general plan at this point. If this is the way that it has to go, what is the council's feeling? Because I believe everything on the north side of 6,000 is R16, or maybe R18 in the city. And so I guess what are your thoughts there? Because it's hard to give up what we're working on when we don't know what we're looking at in the future.
To be building, right.
So I mean, I don't know if you have any thoughts on that.
Generally, when we look at areas like that, we pretty much match up the areas that are surrounding that area, up to a certain point. I mean, up east of that, they're not R16. The Ivory Home subdivision certainly aren't.
Right. No, I'm just the stuff north. Thanks for coming up.
Is that cool?
Please.
Council, I'm Garrett Seeley. I represent Woodside Homes, who owns that property, the Patterson property right now. And this is kind of a bitter pill to swallow right now. When we closed on this property, it had been not rezoned, but have received preliminary plat from Hooper City. And they had represented that they would proceed in good faith in getting final plat. And so when we put the money down and closed on this property, we knew we had a sure thing. And now you're asking us to go back through an annexation process, which is going to extend another 3 months minimum to get just the annexation done, and then go through preliminary and final plat again through your city. Historically, that storm drain has gone directly west, has it not? Down to the golf course, hit the Howard Slough, and out to the Great Salt Lake. Is that fair to say?
I think so.
So let's eliminate the storm drain and just keep going where it traditionally has gone. So if we take the storm drain out of the equation and we just use the water, does that change anything? Because I can just push it across the street and take it through the Halls property, talk to the golf course. They have capacity in their ponds that they could absorb that overflow as it discharges into the Howard Slough and then out to the Great Salt Lake.
I think your question is that where's all the services coming from? Are they coming from Hooper, Clinton?
Define services, because I think it's just water, culinary water that's coming, right?
Sewer.
Sewer is going North Davis Sewer.
So you're going to tap into the North Davis sewer lines.
That's correct.
You're saying you're tapping into the Roy Conservative Water District for secondary water.
That's correct.
You're tapping into you need to tap into the Roy City water line as well?
That's correct.
And does Roy City have the power sitting at that location?
It's not Roy City, that would be.
But it's in.
Roy City has power there, but so does Rocky Mountain Power.
Okay,
I mean,
so
we can pull it across.
So you have access to power. So basically you have all utilities there.
That's correct.
And how much of that will be charged? How much of that will be administered through Roy City?
Culinary water, I believe.
Okay, so water will be routed. So Administrative Services Department will then collect those funds from water. Who will collect the secondary water requirements?
Roy Conservancy District.
Okay, do you collect those as well? Okay, so they go directly to that as part of the property tax requirement.
That's correct.
Okay, and then the North Davis Sewer District? Who pays that?
That goes directly to North. Well, actually, it's collected through Hooper City, and then it's reallocated through.
Okay, so you're charging that through Hooper City?
That's correct.
Okay.
And storm drain would be Hooper City at that point as well, because
you're going to
channel
channel
all your storm drain,
and you're going to run that all the way into Hooper.
That's correct, because.
So really, the only issue that Roy has is water.
There should be a dual line there, right? 65% of that storm drain is already Roy City's. You're dumping into that, discharging it through Hooper City, all the way to the Howard Slough.
So why is there a problem? Why are you talking to us?
Oh, sorry. What am I talking to you about?
Why are you putting this story? Say this is Hooper property. You've got a permit from Hooper to build houses. Why do you need Roy involved at all?
Culinary water.
So the only thing you need is water.
That's correct.
Can't Hooper provide you water out of their water system?
I don't think that they can, no. We had the same issue with, I believe, Wildwood across the street. I believe, well, no, that's Roy Conservancy District that does secondary.
Yeah, the secondary water goes down through there.
Yeah,
That's
that's
correct.
secondary
That's correct.
water out of Roy Water Conservancy District.
Okay, Steve, let's understand what's going on here, because personally, it sounds like all they gotta do is build a trench, drag in Hooper's water, and then we're out of this
If they
discussion
take
completely.
pipe out, yeah, if they bypass our pipe, then it takes us out of it.
Yeah,
out of
why
the
are we
water.
here?
Well, now you're asking a question an engineer should be answering. So Mark Miller would have to probably be the one to answer that. Because from my understanding is the pipe would go to 4300 West and then head north up to Emma Russell Park. I don't know how much goes west. I
That's
don't
what
know how
I've
much goes
understood
north.
too.
I don't know. I don't
But
know
what,
anything.
what goes west of M. Russell
The
Park?
Storm drain.
That's all Hooper.
Right, but
No.
most of our water goes to Emma Russell
Yeah.
and discharges after. So how much on 6,000 goes straight through to Hooper? I don't know. How much deviates and goes up north? I don't know. That would be a question for Mark.
Yeah, according to Mark Miller, it goes to Emma Russell.
Yeah. So you may have to.
So they tie
say
into
it,
that. It's
table it
not
and
gonna
talk
go
to Mark.
west through Hooper. It's gonna go to
Well,
Emma
It's
Russell.
gonna go to Emma Russell Detention Pond over there.
You know, that would be the stormwater requirements, but his point would be is we take it completely out of that. We send it into Hooper, so Roy doesn't have any involvement at all.
So bypass it.
That's what he's saying. I'm just saying is that if the issue then is to put a 3-inch water line out of Hooper into that particular property in Hooper, that seems to me to be a pretty compatible approach unless there's no water that Hooper can provide at that location. And they have all
Culinary-
those homes,
Culinary water?
culinary.
Yeah, Hooper cannot. Then again, Hooper City does not provide water. It's a Hooper Water District. that
Hooper
provides
Water District is the
Yeah,
ones that-
it's the same with us.
Yeah, they're nowhere around there.
Who's providing water to all that subdivision just on the west side of
Roy
Emma
City.
Russell?
Roy?
So
Even-
Rudy City's already,
Yeah, the 6 citizens that are in Hooper on the north side, it's Roy.
Who's providing on the west side of 4300?
43,
Yeah, that's what Bob's question.
I want to
was.
say Roy is.
Yeah, I bet Roy's
So
doing
there's
the whole
already a
thing.
precedent set.
let me ask you, Kathy.
That we're already providing.
Are
the
we,
water.
are we getting double pay on all culinary water of all those homes on the west side of 4300?
I don't know where our lines go, that's a Ross question, so if we're supplying water to a Hooper resident, yes, we're getting double.
Agreed.
But I don't know exactly where the split goes from 43. I don't know that our lines go to the west side of 43. I think those are all Hooper lines.
There's a couple of.
But that's a Ross question.
So, Mayor and Council, if I may, I think the biggest issue that we had going in this was water and taxing the storm drains.
Yeah, right.
So if what I'm hearing that they're not gonna tax the storm drain system and they've got some other questions, then I think we ought to table it, get with our engineers, get with Steve.
Well, this is just a discussion, so we
Right,
don't need to
right,
table it.
yeah, so maybe just have that discussion with Wasatch Civil and Steve and Andy and Ross and figure it
it's
out
just
and then come
culinary.
back. And then I'll educate you guys on our findings from it, and then we can get back with them.
I think that's the pro. Here's my point. I don't want to make this difficult. It's not a difficult discussion. I'm just trying to understand Hooper's position. But if the fact of the matter is, if Roy City, in my opinion, is basically already providing water to a big part of that subdivision in Hooper, then the precedence has already been set. And I'm not so sure we really have an argument here. But if there is a clear line that has been broke where 4300 is the divider between the two cities, and we are not providing that, then I'm asking the harder question, why cannot Hooper bring that across the line into your property? Because it makes sense, it's not that far from there. And then it's not a Roy issue, it's a Hooper issue.
Correct.
But the only piece I'm struggling here is, this council has said a couple of times, is there good sense of why you just don't annex into Roy? That can happen in 2 meetings and get that done. We've agreed to your ideas. We've agreed to the intent of annexation. I'll bet you will agree to the R8 or R7, whatever the requirement. We can agree to that because it makes sense for us. What we can't make sense is that why can't Hooper provide you the service? And if they can't, if Roy is the only one that can, then let us do it. But let's do it as part of Roy. That was the only thing that council come out of this.
Understandable, and I'm not disagreeing with you. I totally understand what you're saying. I get it. And I think the reason why we're up here discussing this is because we did that exact same thing with an interlocal agreement with Wildwood, which Woodside developed, I don't know, 15 years ago, which is directly on the west side of 4300. And they did receive services of culinary and secondary water at that point. And that's why, in my mind, maybe I'm thinking that's how it works. The other thing that I believe that we'll need to sit down with Colby and the engineers is we're looking to buy the property directly across the street to the west as well, the Halls property. And if we can get that, and if they have water, then we can pull water up 6,000. We'd have to get an interlocal agreement to put Hooper Water in the road of Roy City that they own to provide water for Hooper's residents on that side. So that may be the next step, but I'm gonna ask you to please, I don't think there's an action, but just discussion. So to move forward, bring this up again, maybe in a couple of weeks when we have this all sorted out, we're happy to do that.
Yeah, I think that's
Jason?
best,
I think
because I
that's
think we've
reasonable.
got now a couple of options.
Yeah,
And different than what we
we
had
got it.
heard earlier.
Yep, we
Put,
got it.
put this together,
Yep, I will.
and we have a workshop next week. We may be able to have some folks in there to discuss this, and I'll contact the people from Hooper again this week, and maybe we can get a representative from Hooper's side at our workshop next
Yep.
week.
Yeah, we'll take care of it.
Okay?
And by the way, Hooper has some tanks, I think they may be West Haven tanks, sitting up in Roy. And they came through 4800 and tore that road up, put an all-new line in and stuff like that. And we were accommodating. Ross is not here, but they're the ones who put that line. So this is not unprecedented. We surely want to support our neighboring city.
No, and you've
We
always
just-
worked well together. I
Yeah,
know
we just
that.
need to understand what's happening here and why there seems to be a problem with denexation and annexation, because it makes sense to come into Roy.
And it does, but you see it from our point of view, when we close on a piece of property that has preliminary plat
Your
approval
stuff.
from Royce or from Hooper City,
Yeah.
you see
You
where I'm
think
coming
you're
from.
good.
That's
Yeah,
why I'm a
understand.
little
Right.
apprehensive. But we're at
Let's see
the
if we can get some
doorstep, we gotta
answers.
go in.
That makes
Okay.
sense.
Well, we've worked with Woodside Homes for years.
I agree.
Here in the city,
Yep.
and it's always been a good relationship.
Yeah.
I don't disagree with that.
With the Woodside builders. And so let's work together. I'm sure that we can come to a great conclusion on this thing, and working together, we can resolve the issue.
I agree.
Okay?
Thank you, council, for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, the next item, discussion of the North Park playground design. Travis.
He might be, maybe.
Mr. Mayor and members of the City Council, as most of you remember, on August 31st, we held a town meeting to discuss George Wallen North Park, and specifically 3 playground designs. We had a great conversation on many subject matters at the park, as well as the playground. Taft Egan from Big T Recreation was in attendance and showed the 3 options. It is with great excitement that we provide you a rendering package for the new 4th playground option. We took the feedback from our town hall meeting, modified the playground to reflect the community's visions of what the playground needed to be. One area of key focus was designing the playground to be a more inclusive play feature. We accomplished this by designing the accessible ramp structure onto the main playground. We also included the Aero Glider inclusive motion play component that encourages cooperation and teamwork play between children of all abilities. We also redesigned the swing set portion of the playground to include 2 inclusive swing sets, 2 belt seats, and 2 tot seats. You might also notice that we made color changes that requested at the meeting and added different type shade structures in there as well. I would like to just kind of click on it and go through a couple of things if I could. It adds a lot of things from the previous 3 playgrounds. Option 3, if you guys remember that were there that night, was kind of a mixture of option 1 and 2. This is kind of a mixture of option 1 and 3 now, and we're pretty proud of the design because we have been able to do some things to let children of all abilities be able to play on it. And that was important to us. It was an important aspect. Some of the things that I wanted to show you guys. If I could, I'll talk loud. Some of the features of this, you know, we've got slides and physical things on there. We have social interaction, jungle gyms. We have over here, if you come over here, I'm not real familiar with Amy's computer, I'm sorry. We have, if you come over here, auditory sensory stuff, so electronic stuff that people can do there. You know, other neat features that we're kind of proud of in this include up in here, you know, there's our ramp for people of all abilities to be able to go on. This right here is the Aero Glider. There's only one other Aero Glider in the state. And it's a cooperative toy feature for kids of all abilities to be able to play on and cooperate to get it rocking and do a bunch of different things along those lines. Some of the other things that that we really liked in there were, let me find it, jumping and balancing different aspects of it. We feel it encompasses everything that we talked about originally, was trying to create a destination playground. It falls within our budget parameters. We've also talked about running misting systems through you can see now the playground, or excuse me, the shade structures inside, and running misting systems through there, because we've had some parents request for that. Benches and on the outer perimeter, let me show, in this outer perimeter in this area here, you know, we'll include benches. We've also talked about, and we're getting a price on this one, just elevating the cement up about 3 feet so people can sit on that part of it like that. But what we've done here, and what Big T Recreation tried to do as much as anything, was take a lot of the feedback from the town hall meeting. We obviously couldn't take it all, you know, or we'd be designing playgrounds for the next 20 years. But we tried to take the key parts of it that people talked about, and the key components that we felt were important, and design a playground for the community. And in my opinion, this does that.
Okay. I think it's great. Travis has done a good job. We've listened to the community and the residents. We have an option that they really like. So I say we move forward. We need to move forward. We need to make a decision so we can get it ordered, because we did tell them we're going to have this done by winter. If you've driven by there, landscaping's going well, sprinklers are going good. There's a lot of activity over there, and I think the residents are liking to see some work done on it. So we don't really need to make a motion or anything, but it's within budget, so we're just going to probably go with option 4. So good job, Trav.
Yeah.
No,
Thank
agree.
you, Travis.
No, looks good.
Looks good.
Move forward, okay? Next item on the agenda, folks, is city manager's report.
Okay, Mayor, Council, talking with Ross today, that community block development grant, the CBDG grant in the Halvern, is going to have some paving done on it tomorrow. So we're at that point, so it's gonna be nice to close that project, and I'm sure the residents around there are gonna
Contain
be
yourself,
excited
Mark.
too.
I have one question. So once the paving gets done, is this crosswalk and everything going to be moved back to the original,
Yep.
or is it
Then
going to
we'll move
keep
it
where
No,
it's
we'll
at?
move it back.
You're going to move it back.
Yep. The roundabout at 4,000 South, CenturyLink had one of their cables go bad, so they had to dig it up. So they are going to repave it. So they've got their line fixed, so they're going to repave that as well. Public Safety Open House is October 11th, and so is Meet the Candidates Night. They're the same night, so it should be a busy, happening place around here. Little League Football Annual Player Appreciation Banquet is October 16th at 6 p.m. at Emma Russell Park. And Amy has decided to do a trunk or treat that has actually gained a lot of movement on Facebook.
Yes.
A lot of people are excited about it, and we're kind of looking forward to it too. So we're working with local businesses, some other funding sources.
Have we
And,
talked to any food trucks? Maybe bring a couple of them in to give people
good
something
idea.
to.
Yeah, that's a super good idea.
to park
So
up
all
there.
the residents that are listening, whether audio or video, is going to be great. I think we said it was going to be from 5 to 7.
So just a couple questions. So are we setting up our vehicles and then passing out candy that way, or is it where we're standing along the sides? How are you envisioning this?
I wanted to do vehicles.
And which, this out here in this parking lot? Okay, so you're gonna, okay.
We'll block it off. We'll have
And you'll
a-
direct traffic and just have us all kind of back up? Okay.
If you want to decorate your.
And if there's more than what's fitting here, do you anticipate where you're gonna maybe possibly move them to?
Yeah.
Okay.
Should be good.
Yes.
More information to come. So just get that out. Lastly, Damon Christensen, one of our police officers, he's a sergeant, super good guy, great employee, has decided to retire. And Chief Marino brought me his letter of retirement. And I really just kind of wanted to read it to you because it really has a lot to deal with you guys up on the bench as well. So if I may, I have served full-time with the police department for 2 months, shy of 19 years. As I reflect over the years, I am grateful for the opportunity to have been a police officer and to have been employed with Royce City for those years. It has been a great career filled with many opportunities and challenges which have led to personal growth. I want to personally thank the police administration for doing a wonderful job leading the department. The leadership shown has been a great example to me. I have felt greatly cared for by the admin. I am confident the police department is in good hands moving forward. I would also like to thank the city council, the city administration, mayor, and every employee of the city that has contributed to the care and well-being of me and my family. Over the years, the city has experienced both good and hard times, as has my family. Nevertheless, my family's needs were always met with the city was able to offer, and much love and compassion was extended to us by the employees through our difficult hardship. I am forever grateful for every employee and member of the city that contributed to the positive experience. So many employees have contributed that it is hard to name everyone. Just know, if you did something for me and my family, thank you. So just a good heartfelt letter and from a great employee. So, and that's it.
Thanks for sharing that, Jason. Chief, we're losing an ace when we lost Damon. I've sit back and I've watched the work that he's done over the years, and he's been an outstanding attribute to the city. And so pass my heartfelt thanks on for the job that he done. And I've had feedback oftentimes from cases that he's worked from the citizens, and it's been very, very positive. So these are the kind of folks that they get their time in, and you hate to see them leave because they've been such an attribute to the city. And would you please pass that on? And thank you. Council?
Okay, the Arts Council had our art show in conjunction with Roy Days, and we had 4 paintings, well, photography and paintings that were specific to things in Roy. And so we have them out here in the main hall for everyone to enjoy, and they are in conjunction with our 80th anniversary. So.
Thank you. Thanks, Mark. Council, any other?
Okay, just a couple of things. I think the 3 of us know, Marge, Carlene, you indicated you won't be able to attend. There's that Country View Elementary School walk and bike event tomorrow morning at 7:30, if you can make it.
Right.
Help me, Kathy, best estimate, how close are we to reaching our reserve fund limit?
I think we were at 23, 24%.
Okay, about 24%. Ramp projects, Travis, you may know this better than anybody. When are we gonna be putting in for ramp projects, or is that passed?
In January, and I was actually, and now's as good a time as any to talk about it. I think we ought to spend the next couple of weeks deciding, what kind of ramp projects you would like us to put in for.
Okay.
You know, in years past, I kind of decided with the help of the city manager, but I think it's important for you guys to be involved in that process, so I think, you know, we talk about it the next time we have city council meeting and get any ideas or input from you guys about potential ramp grants.
Okay.
Now, are we still talking about the skating rink, or?
I think what Councilman Dandoy there was speaking about was the application for
No,
next year's.
but I wanted to know, are we still gonna move forward with that one, or what?
Well, and to my perspective, and if I understand the question, last year when it was brought up, the issue was combined with the truth and taxation discussion, in which case this was not an item on that list. That is now gone. That year has passed, and now it's a whole new slate. And if I understand, Travis, we had a five-year commitment to do something. I think the council needs to put that back on the discussion. And if the decision to go with that ramp and get the ramp funds from the county in conjunction with our investment, then I think the council ought to make that decision. Let's press.
I will visit with Wasatch Civil between now and the next city council meeting and get some firm cost estimates. We have them from last year and everything like that.
Sure.
I'll just double check to make sure they're good, and I'll get with Jason to make sure we have a discussion item on the next city council meeting.
Do you want to do that during a workshop meeting, or do you want to do it during council?
I think a work session.
Work session.
Okay.
Okay.
We're just doing a work session. Also, maybe we can address some of the other playgrounds throughout the city. You know, it's been a long time since we've upgraded some of these playgrounds in the other areas, and we may want to look at that.
And with that comment, Mayor, Travis, in all fairness to you, he likes to use that, like you too. Those are great words. I'd like to have a continual conversation on what to do with the complex. Now, the fact of it is, I looked at your budget, and your budget didn't put a lot of money into the complex this year. And my comment would be is that I think the council was receptive to an idea about modernizing. I've looked at your numbers. I've looked at the information that's coming out. You got a tick up in terms of people actually attending. I think you're going to see some pretty good numbers because of what you did with the court in there and making that so nice in there that people will welcome that. I'm still convinced right now if we were to do those same kind of improvements to the other pieces of that complex, and in my opinion fix the parking problem with that complex, I'm convinced is that you could get that facility to do, I'm not saying make money, but we can get a lot closer to breaking even with that facility if you had the money to invest into it.
I'd like nothing more than to have a work session on all three of them.
Okay. Jason, Mayor, are you okay with maybe we have that? Because it's a good conversation. And if let's capitalize on the ramp. Let's capitalize on some of these grants, and also capitalize on how we can make the investment work for you. And then let's see if we can't get at least the complex turned around and get it in the way it needs to go. Or at least see your vision of what you want to do with it. Okay.
Councilman Dandoy, we also have in that work session, we'll have a couple other items that we could use the fund balance for too. So.
Okay.
You know, Bob brings up some good points there on the complex and some of that. I'd like to also discuss that. But along those lines, on next Tuesday, we are going to have a work session. There's a lot of items we are going to be discussing. If administration has information, get it out to us early. That goes for any council members. If you have any information that would be helpful, that we're all on the same page or at least had the same opportunity to review the same information, I'd appreciate seeing that sooner than later.
Okay,
so that we
sounds
can
good.
digest it and have a good, not sit there and spin our wheels during that session, but move forward and make some
Get the
decisions.
agenda out at least so we know where we're at.
So Tuesday by 5, get the
Yeah.
agenda out for
Uh-huh.
6.
Yeah.
5:30, you know.
Friday.
Oh, Friday. How about Thursday?
Even better. I'll have mine to you by Thursday, but Brad's right on. We got to have that to everybody.
Friday.
And you know, Jason, if we need an additional workshop after the one that we're doing this next Tuesday. Let's get that
Yeah.
scheduled.
Get
and
the
on
most important
schedule.
items, the top three, and then if we need to, we can
Okay.
Have
have
another
another one.
workshop, okay?
And Travis, as much as I like October 16th, that's kind of a big day for me. I won't be there, sorry. As much as I'd like to be.
Council, I'd like to suggest also, you know, we have students that attend and council meetings, and it's required for them to come and have them sign the papers and things, and usually they have to sit with the council till the end of the meeting, and sometimes for young folks, that's rather a long period of time. We now have the youth council, and I would like to suggest maybe that we delegate the responsibility for signing the students' papers to our youth council members.
That's a good idea.
And, you know, they can do that at school also, make themselves available at the school so that they can sign those papers and show that these young people were at the meeting and attended the meeting. And, so that, you know.
Don't let anybody that didn't attend you sign, you know what I mean?
It's not a
You
bad
gotta be able
idea,
to
Mayor.
attend.
They're
not a
only
bad idea.
required
I
to be
like
here
it.
for 1 hour. So their teacher says till the meeting's adjourned or 1 hour.
Okay, so let's, if that's not an imposition on the youth council members to do
She'll
that.
just delegate to the next one.
And, you know, if we need to talk to the school admin to,
Well, she
get
could,
some help
she
with
could
this
just step down and sign them like Amy's been doing, so.
Yeah. okay? Okay, council, any others? Carlene?
No, I have nothing at this time.
And now, young
Yes.
lady, we need to know what the young
coming.
people in the community would like this council and city to do for them, and we wanna hear from you and gather input from the young people in the community to give us some feedback,
Okay.
okay?
We've had a lot going on the last month or so because school just started. We've just had homecoming as well a few weeks ago, but it was brought to my attention that there's a few signs that had been taken down for homecoming. There's one on 48, one on 1900, and one by Hanson's produce stand.
Yes.
So I don't know, am I in charge of those? Like who's
Just
whoever's
let
in
the
charge of
principal
those?
know they need
Or,
to be.
yeah,
Let
or
Mike
like-
Pusey know,
Mike
he'll take them
Pusey.
down.
Oh yeah, okay. I'll let
I'll
him
let
know.
Mike know.
He put 'em
He'll
up.
take them
Yeah.
down.
Okay. I don't know if this has to do with anything, but I was actually an elementary student at North Park, and it made me sad to see it knocked down and stuff, but I'm really, really happy to see that something's being done with the property, and it's something that will go back to the students. So, yeah, I really like the idea. It looks modern, it's colorful, and I like it a lot, so.
And there is a splash pad with that too.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
it is separate.
exciting.
All right, council, anything? I would entertain a motion at this time to adjourn this meeting.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
We have a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Meeting is adjourned.